This is kind of like day number 3, but I do call it lesson number 4 for this sorrel gelding up here in the calving pen. Now in between his second lesson and his third lesson, or the second day and the third day, he actually had a day off. Again, like I said, what I really like about this method of fear-free horse training, and out of that book by Neil Davies, is that hypothetically you should be able to kind of work with the horse, and then, you know, no matter how much time is in between one lesson and the next lesson, that horse should retain most of that information. And I guess that's kind of what I found is that you know, if I ride a horse, whether it's for 30 days or 60 days or 15 days or 2 days, I feel like, you know, I can let them have a little time off, especially if I can't get right to them. And they're going to pick up kind of right where we left off. So just to explain a little bit, I did, since I did miss that day, I thought, you know, we had a little time. I rode him early in the morning. I did record that. I did a voiceover on it and thought it uploaded, and I went ahead and deleted the videos off my phone, and turns out it didn't work. So again, I'm not a professional horse trainer, and I'm for darn sure not a professional video maker or YouTuber. So anyway, the third lesson, I did go back over our foundation of getting him to move out and getting him to stop, and I think he really started to pick up this circle deal and following his nose and being soft in the rib cage and whatnot. I think he did really good. I did kind of get up on him and ride him a little bit on that early in the morning. And he's just really starting to figure it out, and so that's kind of why in this video here, this is actually, like I said, this is kind of like day number 3 for him, but it's his 4th lesson, I call it, because I come back to him later in the afternoon. And so just to kind of recap, like, what I did the last 2 lessons and then the lesson the morning of this is kind of exactly how it went. I got on him bareback. Again, I'm just transitioning from on foot to on his back and getting him to follow his nose, move out, and stop with one rein. And again, like I said, he's picking it up. He's picking it up really good and getting really gentle. Now, one question I did have somebody ask me is about like when is it time to move on, let's say from step to step. So I guess to word it in a way that that we've been using in these videos is when's it probably ready for the next layer of the foundation. And that sometimes that's kind of a hard thing to tell. My response was that it kind of overlaps for me. Sometimes they might not be just extremely, you know, ready to go. Like this horse's circles probably weren't that good. He's following his nose really well, and he's, you know, like right there, he's kind of wanting to walk forward and, you know, kind of whatever. But I'm still gonna put this blanket on him. You know, I mean, they're not going to do things perfectly, but we're aiming for perfection. And at the same time, we're going to keep kind of trying to advance him along slowly. All right. Like I could ride this horse bareback another 2 or 3 lessons just to really make sure he rides nice. Or I can just chuck this blanket up on him and then get on him and go. All right. Like I'm just adding one more layer to that foundation. Again, sometimes I like to gauge, like if a horse is ready, you know, for the next step or the next layer of that foundation, is if he's not scared and not fearful. I guess that's how I would gauge it. Like, well, I do have a lot of other horses here that maybe are a little more watchy. They're not as gentle as this horse, maybe haven't been handled near as much. And, you know, to jump right beside him, it still kind of scares them. Like, I still kind of have to jump beside him. And they, for me to kind of lay up on their back, that would be like a huge step for them. So until they become not fearful or not afraid of kind of each and every step, then I feel like it's easy for me to kind of move them forward, because we're always going to be trying to put them outside of their comfort zone. And then, of course, by getting them to bring that head around and touch us, they're going to be telling us when it's time to quit, and that they've had enough, or that's way too uncomfortable. And so teaching that horse to kind of communicate back and forth with you is going to be a huge key. And again, like this horse is really gentle. So he's, honestly, I feel like a guy could get on him and just figure it out, you know, outside the pen and just let him go. But for the sake of the video, we're trying to kind of hit all steps, and for the sake of the horse too, because that's kind of why we go slow, and is for the care of the horse. Now, I did have my saddle up here. Again, I don't have any goals for this horse during the day, but since everything was going good, I thought I'm just going to throw this saddle up on him here. One thing about, real quick before I touch on saddling, is the reason I kind of go back over that foundation that we've been working on is to get them to use the thinking side of their brain, like Phil Haugen says in his podcast, Be the Best Horsemanship, is that we don't want him to use the reactive side of his brain, right? Like we don't want him to just be in survival mode the whole time. But you just got to remind them, like, their safe place, you know, like that's getting them to use the thinking side of their brain. They know that this is a safe place, and that all transitions to once you get on their back. And, you know, if you step on a grouse or something flies up underneath them or something spooks them out in the pasture, you can get a hold of that nose, use that inside foot, and bring them around and get them to stop and just bring them back to that safe place. Now, to touch on what I'm doing with the saddle, I actually think it was my grandpa Lee Lopez said that when you're saddling a horse like this, that it's best to just, you want to train them to stand there still and just throw the saddle up on them, because he said someday you might be kind of in a hurry and you need to just get a saddle on this horse quick. And back then they probably used these horses way more than we ever do. But if we're kind of in a hurry like that, chances are we're probably zipping around in the side-by-side or something. But so anyway, I've always thought about that when I saddle these horses. You know, if they are real spooky and they're still kind of fearful and maybe, you know, I know that they're gonna spook, I'll sneak that saddle up on them real slow. But if they're kind of like this, kind of gentle, I kind of want to throw that thing on there like I would just an old saddle horse, you know, as if this horse was just tied to the barn and we were just saddling up, gonna go for a ride. I just swing that thing up over there so they get used to all the motions and all the feelings and everything to do with that. And I guess that's kind of touching on why I saddle them the way we do. Again, we're just adding that one more element to the situation. We're just adding that saddle, and I'm just gonna make him follow his nose around. You know, I don't want to just cinch him up and buck him out and teach him something unnatural. I just want to let him know that whether it's me up on his back, whether it's the saddle blanket up on his back, or whether it's the saddle itself up on his back, we're still gonna move out in a circle and we're still gonna one rein stop. It's the same two things we're working on. We're just adding that one element to the foundation. Again, like you notice I don't have them cinched up right now. I guess just for the sake of the video too, I mean, in this horse, he's gonna take it really well. I just thought, you know, I kind of want to see if he'll look at that. You know, just, I'm not trying to get a reaction out of him, but just seeing if those cinches bother him at all or anything. But again, when he didn't have the saddle on, and kind of in day 1 and 2 or lesson 1 and 2, I used that lead rope to go across his back and cinch it up under his belly. And he basically had zero reaction to that. So I kind of have an idea already that this horse is going to be pretty darn good with it, to get cinched up. One time when I was a young lad, I guess, I went to a Colt starting school that Kerry Schmidt put on. And there's a few things he talked about there that have always stuck with me. And one is cinching these colts up. I used to just stand kind of parallel to him and just bend over there, grab the old cinch, and start flinging it up in there. But he always said to stand up by the shoulder, and it might have changed now. I mean, that was probably close to 20 years ago. But I still kind of just stand by their shoulder and kind of keep a hold of their head. And then what I do is I take that latigo and I try to run it through the buckle of that cinch as many times as I need to. And then so that once I pull that cinch into it, and I like to use a leather cinch so that it kind of bites in case that horse moves, but everything's going to be ready so that I can just pull that cinch tight, throw the buckle in a hole, and it's ready to go. Another thing you notice, like, I've seen some people like use just one cinch or a saddle with no stirrups, or move it really, really slow like that. But I guess I've always just kind of saddled them up the way I'm going to ride them. I'm going to use my stirrups. I'm going to use that back cinch. I'm just cinching it up right away, and we're just going to get used to it from square one. Now, another thing about the back cinch is I had an accident one time with a Colt. I didn't quite have that back cinch tight all the way, and I had my front cinch kind of loose. I don't know what happened. I mean, this has got to be at least 10 years ago. But this horse spooked and got and I mean really spooked away from me and got this saddle off, and it was loose enough to move, and it was tight enough to stay on, and it rolled up underneath his belly. And he just went to kicking and got a foot stuck in there, and he ended up breaking a leg. Man, obviously I feel terrible about that. So with that experience, every time I saddle these horses, I guess I'd run the risk of them maybe blowing up because the cinch is just a little tight, or that back cinch is just a little tight. But man, the risk of that saddle, it was a freak accident. I mean, that's never happened since, and never did it happen before that. But because of that, I do kind of cinch them up just a little bit tighter, and I make sure that back cinch is tight, and so that we don't run into that wreck. Obviously, this horse here took the saddle in and took the exercises really good. This is his second lesson of the day, so